Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. We really miss you here at CASMed and especially in my AP Human Geography class. I know it's hard to think about schoolwork right now, but we really got to stay focused. As far as I know, we're still going to have the AP exam. You guys will be taking it from home, which is really kind of different than anything College Board has ever done before. So let's try to stay on task, and I'm going to give you some notes where I talk and I go through the notes on the screen that you see in front of you. And I will also have some guided notes that you will fill out as you are watching the notes. You can pause it and fill out information as you go. And then I'll have some follow-up questions that ask you to apply the information that you're learning. So if you remember before the break, we started talking about cities and we talked about mega cities, which are cities of 10 million people or plus. We talked about meta cities, cities of 20 million people or plus. So now we're going to apply and look at how businesses place their businesses within these cities. And we did talk about some of these terms already, so some of this will be review for you. So we're going to talk about a few different theories. The first one you see on the screen is called central place theory. And basically what that theory is it says that businesses are going to locate according to where they're going to make the most money. So people are going to access the businesses that are closest by, and we talked about things that are cheaper. They're going to be more available. Things that are going to be more expensive, there are going to be fewer of those stores. So this is called central place theory. So just as a review, site and situation factors. Site factors, remember, those are the things at the place that determine what it's capable of doing in a city. So for example, San Antonio, a situation factor would be the river, the Alamo. Those things bring in money to the city. Sorry, that's a site factor. A situation factor would be the things around it that influence it, like we said, access to the coast to be able to trade, not in the city, but close enough nearby to go ahead and help that city's success and flourish. So again, this is also a review. So I'm just going to briefly go over it. You drew a little picture in your notes. We talked about how things are settlements are patterned, and we have nucleated means. Remember, they're clustered around one central point, like a nucleus in a cell. We have linear settlements, which basically are settlements that are along a river or a road. And if we think about agriculture, their plots of land go up and down along that river. And then dispersed settlements, pretty much rural areas outside of cities. You're going to find people much more spread out. Okay, so if you look here, if we look at our settlement patterns, C would be clustered, A would be linear, and B would be dispersed. So when we talk about cities, they have some really main functions, and these key terms you do need to make sure you record on your notes. Central places, these are the places people go for goods and services, and typically they are your cities. So you have a city like San Antonio, and then you have surrounding areas like New Braunfels or Schertz or Cibolo, areas that are kind of part of San Antonio, but people still need to go into the city for those services. They serve as transportation centers. All roads and highways and any type of public transportation will lead to these cities, and usually they have specialized functions. So in the Midwest, we used to have a lot of industries like cars, in cities like in states like Idaho and Iowa, you may have cities where they're center for trade for agricultural products like corn and wheat. Okay, so if you look, it's a pretty funky looking diagram of how our settlements and how this theory of central place theory works. You can see that this theory shows a key of hexagons. So cities are always our biggest settlements. Then you have towns and villages, they get smaller in size. The city is a central place. The city are the places that people are going to go for goods and services. So we call the city the central place, and we call any areas outside the city the hinterland. These are rural areas. So hinterland being the hill country outside of San Antonio. That's the hinterland. San Antonio is the central place. Okay, so why do we use hexagons? Because hexagons sets up an area for us to look at where there are no gaps. So if we go back to the previous slide, we can see that the cities are in the center, and then the smaller towns, they're going to be able to connect to those cities at an equidistant. And of course, we know that this is a theory, so not all towns are the same distance from a city. But in theory, towns, the closer the city they are to, that's the city they're going to go to for goods and services. Okay, so a couple of other vocabulary words that are very important on this theory. Range, and we did talk about this. We talked about range is the maximum distance people are going to travel for a product or service. So we say, what items have longer ranges? Well, if you need heart surgery and you live in a rural area of Texas, you're not going to find heart surgery there. You have to travel to the city for that. If you propose and you want your fiance to say yes, then you're going to drive to a city for a diamond ring. You're not going to buy a 25-cent ring at a machine. So longer range items are going to be luxury items. Shorter range items are going to be things that are available everywhere. So you can almost find a gas station, a convenience store everywhere. So the range of services, the maximum distance people will have to travel for a product or service will be shorter if the item costs less. Okay? And then threshold is how many people do we need for that business to stay in business? McDonald's will not build in the middle of nowhere where there's nobody living. They're going to build in clusters of areas where there are large amounts of people. So these are the types of things that have smaller thresholds. Convenience stores, again, convenience stores are everywhere. The products that they sell are not expensive. They don't need that many people to support them. Larger threshold areas would be a place like a sports arena. You're not going to build a sports arena in the middle of nowhere because then who would buy the tickets to go see the game? Grocery stores, they need people to keep running as well. But remember, range and threshold are not the only things that people and businesses look at when they're building their stores. So keep in mind that central place theory does not account for the amount of money in those areas people are making, because H-E-B will not build in an area where people don't have the money to buy their products, which creates those food deserts that we talked about. Okay, so when we look at where people are getting services, we have to look at the size of the areas that they're living in. So a hamlet is the smallest settlement you can possibly have. I know it's a weird name. Just think of it as hamlet is the smallest settlement. In these areas, these are really, really tiny towns. They're going to have basic services, gas station, convenience store. That's pretty much it. And then as you get bigger, you go to what we call towns, which I'm sure we're all familiar with this word. So they're slightly larger than the hamlets and the villages. They have a few more services available to them. After towns, then you have cities. And we know that cities are these specialized areas that are the central place. The hamlets, the villages, the towns, those are all areas that are called the hinterland. A lot of those people will go to the cities for major services, doctor's visits, hospitals, etc. Okay, so if we look at this diagram here, we're looking at Kroger, which is a grocery store that used to be here in San Antonio, but they closed down. So you can think of this as H-E-B. If you notice here, there are lots of Krogers, but depending on where you live, so if you live out here on the outside of Dayton right here, you are going to go to the grocery store that's right here. If you live over here, you're going to go to the grocery store that's right here. Where it's overlapping, that's where people have some options. The grocery stores are going to serve, and people are going to have a range of distance depending on where they live and where the grocery store is. So that pretty much covers central place theory. The key takeaways here are you need to understand that there are a range of services people are willing to travel. People are going to be more likely to travel to cities for things that they really need or want more, or for higher cost items, so they'll have longer ranges. People are going to be willing to travel shorter distances for things that are convenient and are available everywhere. And remember, we have our sizes of settlements going from city as the largest, then towns, villages, and hamlets are your smallest, and those have the least specialized services. So you're going to find more hospitals in big cities. You're going to find less hospitals in smaller towns. You're going to find convenience stores in all of those size settlements because everybody needs to eat and everybody needs gas. So this ends our first video on central place theory. I will be posting this, and I will be recording a link to some office hours, tutoring hours, if you have any questions about this. But what I would like you to do is please now go ahead and make sure you have filled out all your answers and notes and answer the questions. And if you need help, send me a message and I will be available as soon as I post those hours. Miss you guys. See you soon.